On the 15th of January, 2022, it was on a Saturday. I just got back with the kids.
I just barely entered the house when the first explosion happened.
The first impact was a pop in our ears.
All of a sudden you hear noise coming out of everywhere.
And then an earthquake happened right after the first bang.
We could see the cloud of ash going through. It's just like a mushroom cloud of ashes.
And then once the cloud was covering the sky, then we started seeing the darkness coming.
That's when everything went black. After that, it just went black.
And we all panicked.
Run. There's a tsunami. There's a tsunami coming in.
The massive eruption of an underwater volcano in the Pacific has seen Tonga's capital flooded by a tsunami and covered in ash.
Planes carrying aid can't land because ash has rendered the runway unusable.
The underwater eruption was so powerful that it was detected around the world.
A blast so massive it was seen from space.
Which scientists think is a 1 in 1,000-year event for this sort of volcano.
While the eruption was so big, it severed Tonga's only fibre optic cable which connects the country to the world, cutting all communication.
We are all a bit in the dark about exactly the scale of damage or what people are experiencing.
The tsunami, we refer to it as hunga-Tonga-Hunga-Ha'apai. Tsunami was one of the most bizarre events that the world might have been witnessed, because it was caused by a volcanic eruption. As we know that tsunami are usually caused by earthquake.
This made it different because we did not expect it. It was out of nowhere. For tropical cyclones, we get a warning. We get an early warning, so we get to prepare. But this was unexpected, and it was it happened so quick. It made it different. So we were panicking. We didn't know what to do.
Oh my God, you are not prepared for this.
How do you prepare for something like this? So the answer is that we weren't prepared. I think the whole of Tonga, we weren't prepared for something like this. It's like looking at a black and white movie. on the next day, yeah? It's like looking at a black and white movie.
We woke up around 6 or so, and the ashes was about this thick outside, all the way up the stairs.
It took us almost 3 months to get rid of the volcanic ash, but you don't really get rid of it. I think you still see some lingering here in the main island.
One of the key impacts of the ashfall was also on the infrastructure, because the ash covered all the roads, and you have to be really careful on the road as well. And the airports were also didn't receive any airplane landing for a week. Even the hospitals were badly affected.
The first response was just like everybody else, is that we have to get up, assess the environment, what was going on, how are we going to clean up all this, and we helped each other. So we cleaned our own homes first, and we all moved as a community into onto the roads and cleaned the roads together. It somehow was a blessing in disguise, because it brought everybody together to the road. Yeah.
If not for the Tongan community, we would still be in that recovery stage of cleaning up ashes to this day.
One of the assistants came in was water. And of course they came in bulks of bottles of water made of plastic. So instead of just mobilizing our normal communities, which is here in Nuku'alofa, we mobilized the whole of Tongatapu in 2 days to collect an equivalent of 3 tons of compacted plastic litter into balers, and we managed to put them back into one of the Australian HMS Canberra, and it took it out of Tonga.
It's something that you would find out here in Tonga, is this strong sense of community. It can't be helped with a country this small. So everyone came together, regardless of their differences, just to get this, overcome this challenge.
It was a very tragic experience for us to see these waste and the huge amount of waste that was left or created by this event.
We did see an increase of 32% in waste input towards our landfills. We also at the same time had multitude of aids coming from overseas in the form of relief packages, water, food, and that did produce a higher output of waste too as a result.
From this experience, we need to consider all scenarios that could go tsunami. So for us, the scenarios that we built before were actually based on having an earthquake from the Tonga Trench. So for us, this experience has taught us that it could be both ways.
Learn from us. We came into this unprepared, severely unprepared. The response to the tsunami was great, but we were fortunate that the impacts were not greater than what it could have been.
And I think it's also good to have a disaster waste management in plan, just to guide all the government agencies, private sectors, even the communities, how to respond to a post-disaster event.
So I think community awareness is one of those key areas that we are trying to be really strong about now, like providing them with more information, early warning system, how do you get out of this kind of situation, how do you prepare yourself as a community before the first responder or the government can reach you, how do you make sure you're safe, you're more prepared.
We have the early warning system in place now, so we test it every Friday. It could give us some time to prepare if any event would happen again.
If we had not been able to work together with the communities, we would not have been able to come through this disaster. But yeah, I think working together with whatever resources that we have will just help us be more resilient and not be dependent.